Hey guys, welcome back to Loft Sports. It's Tyler coming at you with the 2019 Notre Dame season as a whole review video. Not the season we hoped it would be, but looking at it in the grand scheme of things, not a terrible season either. 10-2 record. I predicted us would go 11-1. I thought we would lose to Georgia, which we did. I thought we would beat Michigan, which we did not. So I was one game off in my predictions when I went through our schedule at the beginning of the season. I figured we'd go 11-1 and come up just short of a playoff berth. Turns out we go 10-2, and we may fall just short of a meaningful bowl game berth. However, some things to take away from this season. 3 straight 10-win seasons is really not bad. Yes, I know the old school Notre Dame fans are going to jump on here and say, we're Notre Dame, we play for all or nothing. I get that, but you also have to look at how many other elite college programs out there are struggling. You are going to be harder pressed than you think to name all the teams out there that have double-digit wins the last 3 seasons. Aside from Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State, there's not a lot out there. Michigan doesn't have 10 wins each of the last 3 seasons. Florida doesn't. Florida State, Miami have been in the dumpster. USC's had some bad years. My God, Texas went 7-5 this year, and Seth thought they'd be in the playoff. Nebraska failed to make a bowl game for the 3rd straight season. There's a lot of other programs out there in a lot worse shape than Notre Dame is. I know we got a taste of it last year going to the playoff. We thought we might have the horses to get back. In the end, we didn't just quite cut the mustard, but it's still a pretty good season, guys. It's not one to just throw away. We can still win a bowl game, win 11 games. That would be awesome. We had some good wins this year. The Navy win. Listen, Navy finished 2nd in a really good American Western division. They have a good football team. They've been dominant for most of the year. The American Conference, I would argue, is as good as the Pac-12 and the Big 12. I mean, you've got some UCFs in there, Cincinnati, Memphis, Navy, SMU. Those are all pretty good football teams, and Navy's one of the top 2 or 3 teams in that conference, so that's a pretty good win for Notre Dame, and we throttled them. We beat USC. They finished 2nd in the Pac-12 South. Not an amazing win, but USC played pretty good football towards the end of the season. We beat Virginia. They won the Coastal. I know the ACC's not great, but they went 9-3. That's a pretty good win for Notre Dame. Virginia Tech finished 8-4. They played really good football the second half of the season. It was a big win to get against them. And then our opening game against Louisville on Labor Day night, we really struggled in the first half of that game, and everybody's saying, well, here's Notre Dame, typically overrated as usual. Turns out Louisville went on to win 7 games, so what a turnaround for them. I'm not saying any of these wins are great, but they are a pretty decent collection of wins. It's not going to stand up to the resumes of some of the other teams out there, and it may not even be enough to get us into a New Year's Six Bowl, but when you break down the wins individually and study them as they are, they're not bad wins. The Georgia loss was a really good loss. A lot of people thought we would get absolutely crushed in that game. We went down there and we had the ball inside the final 45 seconds in Georgia territory with an opportunity to win that game. Not a lot of people saw Notre Dame even being in that position. That's a pretty good loss in my opinion. If you're going to lose games, those are the kind of games you should lose. On the road, hostile environment against a top 5 team that's going to the college football playoff. If they beat LSU on Saturday, they're a really good team, and we held our own. The Michigan game is inexcusable. Now, is it an outlier? Is it the weather? If Michigan and Notre Dame played again and the conditions were better, would that game look a lot different? Probably, but you can't lean on those excuses. We still got our ass handed to us in that game. Those kind of games we've got to get away from. If we lose that game by a field goal, this season feels a lot different, but because we got beat by 30 in that one, it just kind of makes it feel a little more empty than it really should. So that's probably the most disappointing and low point of the season was the Michigan loss. The high point of the season was probably the win over USC or Navy. New Year's Six Bowl, best chance is the Orange Bowl. an outside chance at the Cotton Bowl. The Rose Bowl is going to be a Pac-12 and a Big Ten, and the Sugar is going to be an SEC and a Big 12. So that leaves us with two chances, the Orange Bowl or the Cotton Bowl. Whoever wins the American Conference Championship or Boise State potentially is going to the Cotton, because a group of 5 team is guaranteed one of those spots. And then you're probably going to see Wisconsin or Minnesota go to the Cotton Bowl. There's also a chance Penn State could go to a New Year's Six Bowl. Florida's out there with 2 losses. The loser of the Oklahoma-Baylor game. There are so many teams. Auburn, even though they have 3 losses, could go to a New Year's Six Bowl, especially since they beat Alabama. Alabama's in that mix as well. There's an enormous amount of teams with 2-3 losses that could make a case that they belong in a New Year's Six Bowl, even more so than our beloved Fighting Irish. So I don't know what kind of bowl game we go to. I hope that even if it's not a New Year's Six Bowl, we play at least somebody that's respectable so that we can at least kind of have a season like we did a couple years ago when we beat LSU. Those were 2 9-3 teams. It was a great bowl game. And yeah, it wasn't a major bowl game, but it was still a nice win to get over a pretty good SEC opponent. We should have an opportunity to play somebody ranked in the top 25 in a bowl game, even if it's not on the grand scale. All right, the future for Notre Dame, kind of looking ahead, forecasting into next season. Kelly's got one of the top recruiting classes he's ever had coming in next year. There's supposed to be a lot of 5-star athletes in this class. I'm not a big recruiter studier. I follow it more towards the deadline around signing day in February. Right now, I haven't really looked that much, to be perfectly honest with you, but from what I've heard about other people that follow recruiting more than I do, is that Notre Dame is in line to have a pretty good class coming in next year. So that's reassuring a little bit for us. One thing I want to see Notre Dame do is pay our coordinators. We've got 2 good coordinators. I was very impressed with Clark Lay this year, the defensive coordinator, and I like Chip Long as the offensive coordinator. Notre Dame needs to retain these guys. Now, if somebody comes in, if a Toledo or a Western Michigan or even like a Boston College or an Arkansas, a lower tier Power 5 comes in and they steal these coordinators to go be their head coach, I'm fine with that. That means we're generating coordinators that people want to get, and that's a testament to Kelly. See Bob Diaco. He left to go be UConn's head coach. If somebody comes in and gets a coordinator to come be their head coach, I'm fine with that. Those guys are looking to better their career. Everybody wants to be the guy, the head ball coach. So if they leave to better their career and to pursue themselves as a head coach, I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is teams like Texas A&M and other programs that are competing against Notre Dame kind of in that second tier right now, because we're not on the tiers with Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson and all those teams. But if a second or third tier team comes in and they pillage our coordinators to be their coordinators, that pisses me off. Notre Dame should be able to pay these guys enough money to keep them in South Bend unless they're going to go be a head coach somewhere. There's no excuse that a Texas A&M or a Virginia Tech or any of these other Power 5 schools should be able to come in and take Notre Dame's coordinators because they're willing to open up their checkbook and pay them. We need to pay these guys. We need to retain this staff. The continuity is crucial to success going forward. And unless they go be a head coach somewhere, they need to be back in the box coaching the offense and the defense next year for the Irish. It's just that simple. Kelly, in a whole of himself, a lot of people are saying they want to see Kelly go. A lot of people are saying we should keep him. I talked about after the Michigan game, I think Coach Kelly has peaked at Notre Dame. I don't know that he can take us to the promised land, but I do know this as somebody that grew up in Nebraska and graduated from Nebraska, you better damn well be careful what you wish for. Because Nebraska twice in the last 20 years has fired 9-win coaches, and their program has had no success after. They fired Frank Solich in the early 2000s. They brought in Bill Callahan. Program went to hell in a handbasket. They got Bo Pelini. He got them back to relevancy. They weren't happy with him. They let him go. Then Mike Riley came in. Now they got Frost, and they've missed a bowl game 3 of the last 3 seasons. So I'm a little gun-shy to say Notre Dame should move on from Kelly unless he decides mutually that the time here has come to an end and it's just time to go somewhere else. I could understand that and respect that, but I don't think Notre Dame should run him out of town. Jack Swarbrick was very patient with Kelly in the 2016 season when we went 4-8, and every one of us were wanting us to fire Kelly. This administration stayed patient. They got Coach Kelly back. We kept him, and now we've won 3 straight seasons with at least 10 wins. I'm okay with being a top 10, top 15 program every year with an occasional run at a playoff or a national championship every 3 to 4 years. I don't want to go back to the damn Charlie Weiss and Bob Davie and Tyrone Willingham days where we're 7-5, occasional 9-win season, but we get blown out in the big one. Kelly has struggled to win the big one, I agree, but I also would much rather be 10-2, 9-3 in a bad year than to just go back to the days where we can't win any games and we just suck. So be careful what you wish for. I think Kelly has earned the right to come back another season. Let's see where it goes. We need to get another quarterback. Ian Book, I love the kid to death, but I just don't think he's the guy to take us to the promised land. We get some young talent in there. We get some elite players. Maybe we can build something. Last thing I want to leave with is I do want to say thank you to the players. You know, we hold these guys to such a high standard, and they do a great job of representing our university on and off the football field. We always end up with the highest graduating percent of players. I'm so proud of Notre Dame for that. These kids go to class. They deal with the ridicule. They deal with the pressure of playing at Notre Dame that us fans put on the team. These kids go to an academic institution that most of us wouldn't even be able to fathom getting into. They go to class, they go out, they represent themselves well, and then they put the pads on and the uniform on every Saturday, and they represent our university to the best of their ability. Thank you so much to our seniors, our players, our coaches for giving us a season that, yes, at times was disappointing, but for the most part had a lot of high points. We love you so much. No matter what the result at the end of the day is, we're always going to continue to support. So thank you so much to our players. Thanks so much. This is Tyler with Loft Sports signing off. Go Irish.
Dance for me.
Okay.
That's your dance?
Yep. It's the move.
That's your move?
How my move is this. You know that.